Hello everybody, this is the recap for today's Bund morning session on Monday. This is July the 22nd of 2019 and there were no numbers today, no economic numbers this morning, and the day started even slightly below the day before's value area. So everything was set to a range market. I said normal distribution with Friday's Bund. There was a distribution from 34 to 49 area. The price then in the overnight session today on Monday was also balanced. So no numbers today as well, and everything was set to balance. But this is context, and you see in context we always need two sides to build one complete bias which you can rely on then for your trading plays. And so that what happened then today. In this morning I said three hypos. Hypo number one, if no sustainable extensions, we will see the range market. And I would prefer that market bounces back and stays within the 34 to 49 area, yeah, which is obviously this area from the yesterday distribution. So I want to look here for the range long, and I would go for the range short, but only if there are responsive sellers, all right? And the other hypo was number two, if we see increasing volume delta as price moved through yesterday value area high, I will look for the long above the 49 with targets at 56, 62, all right? And number three hypo, if we see the same thing on the downside, that means increasing volume delta as price moves through value area low, look for the short below the 34 area. But support will already expected, or I expect short as support already around the 27 to 30 area, because see here, this is where the bigger guys coming in and buying and buying and buying, even a little bit stronger low here from the previous day session. Anyway, this were our hypos, and now see how the Bund played it out then, because of course this is very interesting to see and to read. So let's switch and we go to our trading screen. First the 15 minutes. You see where we started then in the pre-market session. There was a little bit look below yesterday value area low here, and prices then only made it already at 8 o'clock, 8:15, only made it to this support area of 27.30, okay? So right now everything, two things were possible. If there is a rejection with the open now from the cash, okay, rejection, we going back into the range with good targets about this POCs at 44, 36, then 44, and of course the range high at 49, all right, okay? But if there's value built and you see increasing volume on the short side, on the sell side here, all right, below the yesterday value low, then we will go for the short, all right? Let's have a look to the trading screen now. What happened? Sorry, here we go. Okay, see, this is the yesterday main distribution, this gray rectangle here, and you see that the pre-market starting with 8 o'clock, see with the rise in volume, yeah? It's a funny fact, this is the old pre-market from the Eurex session, because the new one started already at 1 o'clock that people can trade from Asia. But anyway, 8 o'clock they started and they pushed into the low of the yesterday value low, but there was already the support around the 30.27 at the 30 level, okay? No trading from me in the pre-market, because this is just to make some observations to the bias when we start then in the cash market. But have a look what's happening here. So we got into the low, making the low, bouncing back, getting into the low again. This time already with a little bit of delta divergence, all right? A little bit at least. And you see that they can't make a new low. They bouncing back. And a third attempt. And look at this again. This time with a bigger delta divergence. there wasn't so much pressure in this third attempt of getting lower. All right? Then a fourth attempt, still with a delta divergence in terms of the whole scenario. So this doesn't look like an increase of selling volume, or does it? Come on, not really. Huh? The delta is less strong in selling than it was with the first and second attempt, which was already a delta divergence. So what we looking then? With the cash open, we see that if there's now coming again another at cash time attempt to the downside, we think, okay, the 30 area, hold it on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, all right? We are now with the open back in the yesterday value, all right? And now we see nobody is selling. Nobody is selling, all right? So if you have a play and see the increase now of volume on the buy side, why don't you then looking for a play here or for an entry? But only if you have a play for this, okay? Only if you have a play for this. Because some people may play it with a pullback, some people may pay it with a attempt of short sellers with rejection and from buyers. This is what I do anyway. If you have a play that goes maybe with the structure break of delta with the momentum, play it, okay? See this, how increasing volume looks like when price is going in your preferred direction. You don't have to force nothing, you just have to watch what's happening. So see that here, then price is going up. I said now we fill this little B model low volume node here, and it got a little bit absorbed here, a little bit lower than I expected it, but anyway, it stays alive and we go through the whole range. We hit the target number 1, the 54 level, 45 level, and then we going up to our activity zone. All right, thinking of, I told you it was my fault to watch too much what's happening here around this area because it's too much micro play stuff for super scalping shit. We don't care. But the activity zones for my big picture preparation was rejection or continuation. That means increase of volume on the downside, which obviously did not happen, and then increasing volume, which entering again the value, which obviously happens. So this was activity zone number 1 around the yesterday value low, and the next appearance, the next thing we want to watch is the activity zone is here about the 49 area. That means either there are coming responsive sellers, all right, or we see a short little pullback consolidation, holding structure with absorption, and increase of volume again. Because why? Because this is another hypo. The another hypo is not the range short here, what could have happened, but also the trend play long. Okay, see what happened. Now, what would you say? We're now hitting the 49 area. That means we're hitting the yesterday value high, we're hitting the volume edge from yesterday, we're hitting our activity zone. Now, what would responsive selling look like? First, we have to have a look to the delta. That means to the volume and how it played out in the whole in this long move through the range. And there's something you will see all the time if you make your backtesting, all right? If we have a range play, if we have a range situation like we had here at this moment, you see the delta bouncing up and down, down and up. And this time you see a really bullish tape and volume, of course, in the delta as well. Come on, don't tell me that isn't. This is a very bullish delta structure compared to a range like here, range structure here. See this here, see this. So this is my number 1 thing I would watch out. If I see that they increasing volume on the way up, okay, and then trading with increased volume through the yesterday value area, I area, okay, I wouldn't look for my normal signs trigger for a responsive selling. This is really important because this is a really strong sign of somebody pushing higher and higher and making this with an increase of volume all the time when they going back from this pullbacks, little pullbacks. All right, this is very important. So in this time, if I'm going still the possibility for a range short, but there have to be not even a double, I would say, for my play parameters, there is even a triple rejection on the upside. That would mean when we hit the 49 area, which we obviously do at this moment, see what happens. We go in with high volume through it. So this is a really strong sign. If there is now rejection number 1 really strong, I would look for a second and a third rejection here in this area to then go with the cheap entry for the short. But see what happens. What would a strong rejection would look like? Like this here, okay? Or like this here, or like this, or like this, or like even this, or this. Now look what happened. We reached the 49 area, still strong volume. Now, of course, some guys gonna take some profits, take some wins, you will see some selling. But is this hard selling? Is this really strong OTF short players rejection? I don't know. All right, we see here the first rejection. This is this here, right now in this moment, okay? So, okay, I would count this number 1 rejection. All right, this is okay. They've taken some profits. I don't know yet. Now they're taking on the high again. And look at this. Where is the second? Where is the second or even the triple, the third rejection on the upside? No, there is no, because people already gain and increase volume on the buy side. Very bullish. And now one second thing appeared, which me make to don't take on or don't even think in responsive selling here anymore. We made a new high, even though it's only a tick higher, but this is for me a clear sign of strength with increasing volume. So no matter what, even though they play now the short, and even though I'm not in, then I'm just not with it. I don't care. Too many times when you do backtest and see this strong structure, and then increase in volume, then a short pullback, only more rejection, and then again increase in buy volume, I'm not gonna take on a trade like this anymore. And do me a favor, do your backtest in the market that you trade to compare those kind of situations on the activity levels, and only watch it on the activity levels to make it easier for you to make a decision. So okay, I was waiting, and now I switch to the hyper number 2. I want to see a holding structure, and I want to see now some consolidation, some selling is okay, but then they have to stay above this area here, above the yesterday value area high zone, about this 47, 48 area, and I will see then an increase of volume again. All right. So what happens? Pullback. All right. Then again a pullback, and again a high volume. All right. People do sell into the 50. Look at the footprint. Look at the footprint. 798 contracts got sold into the bid, but got absorbed. What the hell? They absorbed it because, of course, we see all the signs before, we see all the strength. There is some OTF, all right? OTF trader, other time frame, people who have a lot of money, phones, long-term trader, not only appearance of short-term but longer-term time frame participants. All right, they absorbed it. Nobody cares. Absorption. Go back to the trading window, see what happens now. We see now the situation already a little bit within 30 seconds, again selling into it. 212 contracts into the 50. Nobody cares. They just refill the bid. Hitting the bid doesn't matter because there is absorption. And right after it, within this is a 30 seconds duration, they buy again. 273, 158 before 62 contracts, and we see a rise of the volume. Right now, I wasn't thinking, damn, why did I take on the trade? But the situation it wasn't so clear. I was looking at my play for a holding structure. I'm not the perfect kind of trend player with after a strong move and holding above the yesterday value area high. I'm still a little bit learning this to get better on this, but I missed it. But of course there will be a second chance. So they take out first and reach the first target of my hyper number 1, which my hyper number 1 was obviously the 56 as target number 1, which they reached here. And now waited for the pullback, because at this moment, let's draw the volume profile, we see that there may be a second chance to get into this trade. All right. For me, there was this situation where they build a lot of volume. That means the 50 and the 52 area. There would be a little bit LVN below it at the 51. So I wanted to get into it when they pulled back. And I want to see, after they selling, I want to see a decrease in volume. of sellers at the LVN area here at the 51, and then after decrease of selling interest, I want to see again some market buyers around this level. This would be the sign for me to go into the trade, because I have the long-term buyers on my side, I have the short-term buyers on my side. This is this here, and the appearance of obviously all the time frame traders, which we saw the absorption and keeping into the trade. So we see they pulling back and going to this low volume node, and see how now the selling decreases. You see this selling here, smaller selling, even smaller selling, delta selling, smaller selling, even smaller selling, and again some selling but not so big, and some buyers again up here. All right, and here no more selling, and some buyers. For me, that's a sign. We take in the 51 series as a proven low volume node that separates right now with the build volume. And you see that also the POC is about to rise and is now built at the 50. That means value and POC follows the price, which also very trendish above the VWAP. All right, so I said now I'm taking on the trade, which I did. I tried to get in cheap at the edge on the scratch here around the low volume node, and had my stop 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks below at the 48 levels. And now see what happens. I was right, because then the decrease of short-term sellers, which switched then to increase of volume of buyers, saw really strong buying now. 231, 376 contracts, and even then they tried to with passively go into with liquidity provided a bid at 54, and you see a scratch on it. 57 was the high, which which was the first zone of resistance, where they have to trade through to make the next target area about 61, 62, 63. But they couldn't, and I was a little bit too quick, because after this phase I saw a lot of people selling, but the absorption area again was still at 51. I was a little bit too quick, and I would say this was, I analyzed it already, and I made the observation that this was emotionally caused, because I have some adaptive stop handling allowed after the moment the impulse phase 1. That means prices go in my favor after I enter the market on my search level, that I'm allowed to make an adaptive stop handling. But normally I have 2 steps of stop handling. First, I pull the stop a little bit closer when the impulse phase 1 started and couldn't take out and then if they make a second impulse phase and make it through the high, I'm allowed to pull it on scratch. I was too quick, because right now at the moment my stop should have been around the 48.50 area. Look what happens then. One would have stayed in the trade, because OTF and absorption kept them alive and kept the value alive and built even more value above and shifted the POC even up to the 54 level, and then they hit again and making a new high, and you see now a little bit dry up in volume follows, and overall they stay alive. That's what I say. Now if you're still in a position from this bounce back here or from this pullback here, then you can stay in the position till they hit the target 63, as long as they stay above this 50-51 area. And see, a little bit dry out of volume, a little bit consolidation phase, but they stay above this level clearly. Okay, 50, because the low is now 54. They stay up, they stay, and then they reach the target at 11 o'clock and 6 minutes. Right now it's 11 o'clock and 30 minutes. That means we're closer to the noon area. And that was the trading day, and I hope you can learn a little bit. I make my analysis, and prove yourself. Have you played it? Have you made the right big picture preparation? That means, were there activity zones you prepared? Was there then was they from interest? Were they really the level that market then made their decisions and participants made their appearance? Number 1. Number 2 is, how did you play it? Not by P&L judge it, you're trading by if you played your trade well, how was your entry, how was your stop management and target management, okay? And then if you had a trade like me that was closed, ask yourself, was it A, reasonable because your play parameter, your stop handling, and how you play it that's just the way you do it and it's okay then? Or was it a little bit emotional caused? That means, did you pull the stop too close like I did today? And that's what I write down in my psychological journal today. I write into it that I made, in my psychological review, I said this was a bit emotions driven, not clear. I wasn't not totally clear in mind, and in this moment that I handled the stop I pulled it too quick to the entry level. Yeah. So get better every day, and happy trading, happy learning. See you tomorrow. Bye. This is Anton Höpfel for Manapa Trading.